So we finally got a response from Activision in regards to the disastrous launch of Call of Duty Black Ops 7, which continues to be poorly received among both critics and users alike, especially users, with the user score now sitting at a 1.6, the lowest I've seen it with this game, which makes Call of Duty Black Ops 7 top 50 worst user-reviewed games of all time. And its player numbers are not faring particularly well. You can see right here on Steam charts that past Call of Duty releases have had higher peaks. So Black Ops 6, for example, saw a higher peak of 315,334 players, but then with Black Ops 7's launch, you can see that that game peaked at a little over 100,000 players before petering out, and Call of Duty is kind of in the worst state it's been when it comes to engagement. At the very least, that's the case on Steam, which is a pretty good indicator of a game's general performance. A stark contrast to its competition Battlefield 6, which is seeing just generally better critical reception as well as just player numbers and engagement across the board. Not to mention worldwide statistics surrounding Black Ops 7, that it is one of the worst entries in the franchise as far as commercial performance, with the game business reporting that Black Ops 7's European launch sales are 63% down over Battlefield 6, and the game is also down by more than 50% over last year's Call of Duty Black Ops 7, and you can see that in the Steam numbers as well. And then beyond that, even in Japan, we saw reports that Black Ops 7 is suffering the worst Japan launch it's seen in 20 years of the franchise's history. I can almost guarantee you that even in the US, Black Ops 7 is not meeting sales expectations, and what is especially telling is the way Activision has not addressed Black Ops 7's sales performance in any positive way. Usually Activision will give some kind of statistic like, oh, it's the fastest selling game in the series, or it's achieved X achievement or milestone or whatever. We're seeing none of that with Black Ops 7, likely suggesting that sales really are that bad. And there are myriad reasons for why Black Ops 7 has critically and commercially flopped. The campaign itself is being made fun of because of these kind of more supernatural elements that many people feel don't belong in a Call of Duty game. There's the online-only component for the campaign that does not allow for checkpoints or pausing. You can get kicked if you idle too long. You can have people just come in and kind of interrupt your campaign experience with voice chat. And it's just been a really bizarre experience across the board, not to mention Black Ops 7's usage of AI-generated artwork. And I mean, it's blatant. This is straight up just like Ghibli stuff. And then Activision's statement didn't help matters, them claiming that it's about empowering their development teams and creating the best experience possible for players, when all AI has done is degrade the quality of the product. Not to mention mar the artistic integrity of a project that would be better served by human artists being at the forefront. Now, it seems as though Call of Duty Black Ops 7's commercial failure is so extensive and its critical reception is so poor that less than a month after its launch, the development team has had to put out the following statement, admitting that Black Ops 7 fell short and making certain commitments to try to reassure people about the future of Call of Duty. So here is a message from the Call of Duty team, quote, "First off, thank you for all of the feedback we have received over the last few months. Call of Duty has enjoyed long-standing success because of all of you, a passionate community that demands excellence and deserves nothing less. Judging by some of the more disastrous recent Call of Duty releases, you wouldn't think that the community's demands for excellence actually meant much of anything for them." This continues. "We also know that for some of you, the franchise has not met your expectations fully. To be very clear, we know what you expect, and rest assured we will deliver and over-deliver on those expectations as we move forward." I've never seen Call of Duty put out a message like this, especially so shortly after the launch of the most recent outing. The critical and commercial performance of this game must be well below expectations if they were given the go-ahead to put out a statement like this and trying to appeal to a community that is slowly starting to abandon them. It would seem as though the bottom line has been severely affected, because it's only then, when the bottom line is impacted, that they actually start to listen and show any semblance of sympathy and empathy towards the community. Because otherwise, if it's selling well and making money, then the feedback goes unheard. But that kind of stuff builds up over time to a point where you do start to lose your community. Call of Duty starting to experience that, which is now finally, with bottom line being as negative as it is right now compared to past entries, they're starting to be like, "Hey guys, so we're so sorry about how that all went out. We promise from here on out, we'll definitely be listening." It only took, multiple entries and a massive flop for that to happen. They continue, "With respect to Black Ops 7, we set our sights to deliver a spiritual successor to Black Ops 2, and the studios have poured their passion into making a great game that all of us are very proud of. But it's one thing for us to say it. More importantly, it's up to you to try it and judge for yourselves. So as it relates to Black Ops 7 and the future of Call of Duty, here are a few important notes. The thing is, Black Ops 7 is not like some awful game that plays poorly and that, looks awful and is glitchy or buggy. It's, for the most part, like a solid video game. The issue is that with Call of Duty being as big as it is and how big the expectations are surrounding that franchise, with it being a multi-billion-dollar IP where people expect, some semblance of quality bar to be met and some semblance of the Call of Duty identity to be retained, that's where Black Ops 7, especially on the identity part, really falls apart. And not to mention just a lack of evolution, a lack of really ensuring that each Call of Duty entry feels very curated and very handcrafted and not something that has to be like factory churned out every single year for the sake of meeting financial quotas. Anyway, they talk about how Black Ops 7 now has a free trial. For this to receive a free trial so shortly after launch, when that clearly wasn't the initial plan, goes to highlight that Black Ops 7 is not getting enough players, and giving it a free trial is their way to try to get more people drawn into the Black Ops 7 experience, because its player numbers and level of engagement really is at that level of kind of critical. Then they talk about unprecedented seasonal support, and then finally, their strategy going forward. This is an interesting bit. We will no longer do back-to-back releases of Modern Warfare or Black Ops games. The reasons are many, but the main one is to ensure we provide an absolutely unique experience each and every year. Referring to the fact that usually you switch back and forth between, Modern Warfare and Black Ops, and you get series swaps every year, but this was one instance where we saw Black Ops release 2 games back-to-back. Black Ops 6 and then Black Ops 7. For them to even share such plans and even assure people of this, again, this is unprecedented. Sales for Black Ops 7 must really be that bad. But the issue with Call of Duty's release schedule is not that they're releasing Modern Warfare, Black Ops games back to back. It's the fact that they're kind of confined to this annual release schedule that does not give developers enough time to fully be able to realize their ambitions to a great level, to really give them time to cook. You can see right here, this statement is implying that Call of Duty will still remain an annualized franchise. From this bit of this statement right here that says, ensure we provide an absolutely unique experience each and every year. That's the issue right there, not this up here, the back-to-back releases of a specific series of Call of Duty. It's the year-to-year release. There's just a constant rush to get the next one out on this annualized release schedule. That's what they have to eradicate. I don't care if they release 2 Black Ops games back-to-back or 2 Modern Warfare games back-to-back, as long as each individual entry has been given the love and care that it deserves. And love and care, especially when it comes to artistry, requires time. Dispensing with annualized release schedule and focusing on quality over quantity is what will propel Call of Duty to the next level. That's what Battlefield did after the failure of Battlefield 2042. Instead of trying to rush the next one out with Battlefield 6, they really took their time. So between Battlefield 2042 and Battlefield 6, we're talking about 3 years gap. Call of Duty needs that. The franchise needs time to breathe. It cannot continue with this unsustainable annualized schedule. So while it's a big deal that any kind of commitment like this is being made at all on the part of Activision and the development team of Call of Duty, it doesn't change the fact that this commitment is not the right commitment, in my opinion. The right commitment is we're not going to do yearly releases anymore. We're going to give developers more time to cook and to make sure they can really fully jam-pack the next Call of Duty entry with features and evolutions to the franchise that are desperately needed. Now, this statement does speak about future innovation, stating that we will drive innovation that is meaningful, not incremental, which is what Call of Duty has basically been doing on an annual basis. While we aren't sharing those plans today, we look forward to doing so when the time is right. One can hope that this is not them just trying to hype us up for nothing, but rather they actually have some really interesting and meaningful ideas on how to ensure that Call of Duty continues to evolve as a series rather than remain stale. And it feels like we're being charged, $60, $70, $80 annually for what is essentially a subscription to incremental updates to a series that is in desperate need of something refreshing. And refreshing is not adding supernatural elements and, insane visuals that have no place in the Call of Duty IP, with it having, a very strong identity that people associate with it. It's about retaining that identity while still introducing ways to keep the game exciting. We had to close off with, to be clear, the future of Call of Duty is very strong, and we believe our best days are ahead of us. Given the depth and talent of our development teams, we have been building the next era of Call of Duty, and it will deliver precisely on what you want, along with some surprises that push the franchise and the genre forward. We look forward to welcoming you in, listening to you, and moving forward together. Well, you know what they say, actions speak louder than words. These are great ambitions to have, but I won't believe them until I've seen them with my own eyes and I've experienced it with controller in hand. I just think with the way leadership in particular is approaching the Call of Duty series, the decision-making surrounding the IP, that's where I'm like not having a whole lot of faith in this promise, but I hope they can pull it off somehow, and I hope the developers get all the breathing room that they need to cook properly with this IP that has, and continues to have tremendous potential. But yeah, I mean, generally the reception surrounding this message from the Call of Duty team has been scathing, with people kind of going, it took you this long to realize that this was the kind of inevitable path. If you continue to approach the IP with the same methodologies, the same mindset, so on and so forth, that has plagued the series. So people saying things like, it only took you losing hundreds of millions of dollars and completely ignoring your fan base to realize that copying and pasting the same shit over and over won't last forever. Here's somebody else highlighting what I mentioned, which was that how about stopping yearly releases altogether? Generally, it's a statement that's being received with squinted eyes, with people approaching this very cautiously, because faith in Call of Duty has often been something that has burned people more than it has reinvigorated them. I mean, it is nice to see that they're at least trying to communicate and trying to provide some assurances, but for many, it feels like it's too little too late. It feels like this is only coming in right when Call of Duty is starting to really flounder as a franchise. This feels like a plea to the audiences because of a poor commercial performance, rather than a genuine attempt to rectify the wrongs of the series. Because if that were the case, then we wouldn't see talk about how they want to offer a unique experience each and every year. We would see them say, we're going to give Call of Duty more breathing room and ensure that, it doesn't have to be an annualized release if it means ultimately making a better game. That's what would be more encouraging, but the fact that the annualized release schedule is being maintained just gives me the sense of like maybe not a whole lot will ultimately change surrounding Call of Duty, despite the commitment to, innovate further and to do things and feature surprises that will push the franchise and the genre forward. I do hope they can pull it off though, but in the meantime, what we're left with is a series that faith surrounding it is the lowest I've really ever seen it. But at the same time, Activision knows that to compete in the first-person shooter field, especially with Battlefield 6 having done as well as it has, and knowing that they now have to surpass Battlefield, and this competitive, back and forth is something that keeps motivating both studios to outdo each other, that kind of competition still existing means that we may very well be surprised by Call of Duty, and they may very well step it up, understanding that if they don't, they will fall behind and Battlefield will take over. And that's the beauty of competition. It keeps everyone on their toes, and in turn, we all win as a result, especially us, the consumers, the players, the customers, you name it, who, when certain franchises deliver at their highest peak, we get to have that experience and we get to celebrate in that, and we get to partake in that. So hopefully that's where Call of Duty is headed. But right now, the state of Call of Duty is not particularly bright, and they'll have an uphill battle when it comes to restoring faith in the franchise and restoring the belief that the future is indeed bright and that we will see the optics surrounding Call of Duty be reinvigorated. But until then, this is what you need to know about Activision's response when it comes to the performance of Black Ops 7 and the reception surrounding it. They're full on admitting that Black Ops 7, it just didn't do very well. They're full on admitting that they didn't really deliver what Call of Duty fans wanted. And the statement, while it doesn't really say it, is as good as admitting that the game is not performing particularly well or is well below expectations. What are your thoughts and opinions about the future of Call of Duty, and what do you think the franchise needs to do to restore itself to its former glory? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.